It was in the summer of 1878 that I received the correspondence which would alter the very course of my life. The envelope bore the seal of the British Raj, its wax still fresh, the scrawl upon it urgent, almost feverish. I was being summoned not for sport nor ceremonial duty, but for an endeavour that would demand every ounce of resolve and sanity I possessed. The letter spoke of a man-eating tiger, an infernal brute that had laid siege to the village of Bhimgarh, deep within the jungles of central India. This creature, they wrote, had slaughtered over 40 souls. The villagers called it Kaladev, the Black Devil, and they uttered the name in whispers, as though fearing the mere mention might conjure the beast itself. I, Colonel Reginald Thorne, was no stranger to the hunt. I had stalked game across the length and breadth of the empire, from the snowbound cliffs of the Himalayas to the scorched earth of the Deccan. But this was no ordinary quarry. There was a tone to the message, a desperation in its language that left me strangely unsettled. I arrived in Bhimgarh on a stifling afternoon, the air thick with the scent of wet earth and decay. The village was but a handful of mud brick dwellings, nestled against a backdrop of dense and unforgiving forest. The inhabitants looked gaunt, their eyes sunken and haunted. They gathered around as I stepped down from the carriage, their silence more telling than words. "Sahib," croaked an old man, his limbs trembling with age and fear. "You must destroy it. It has taken my son, my daughter, my wife. It will not stop until none of us remain." I assured them of my intent, though their eyes betrayed little hope. Indeed, behind their weary stares was something that gave me pause, a flicker of fatalism, as though they believed this creature to be beyond the reach of mortal men. That evening, I sat with the village headman, sifting through crude maps and fragmented reports of the tiger's rampage. It was no ordinary predator, that much was certain. It attacked in broad daylight, left no trail, and seemed to disappear into the jungle as though the very foliage itself conspired in its favour. The creature was elusive, almost spectral, and it struck with a cunning that defied reason. As I laid out my plans for the hunt, I could not rid myself of a singular impression that I was already being watched. The jungle, with its ancient canopy and whispering leaves, seemed to draw closer by the hour. The trees bent inward like crooked fingers, and the sounds of the wild, crickets, distant howls, and the eerie call of unseen birds merged into a chorus of foreboding. At first light, I ventured into the jungle, accompanied by a few local trackers, thin, quiet men whose movements were graceful and precise. The air was suffocating, the humidity oppressive. Each step sank into the damp loam, and vines clawed at our limbs like fingers intent on holding us back. The trackers navigated the undergrowth with a confidence born of long familiarity, their eyes ceaselessly scanning for signs of the beast. Not a mile beyond the village, we found the first victim. A boy, no older than 10. His small body lay twisted at the foot of a tree, his throat torn open, his eyes fixed wide in terror. I have witnessed much in my time, but the sight was enough to chill the marrow. And then came something worse. As we examined the scene, a low growl rumbled through the trees, so deep and primal it seemed to rise from the earth itself. The trackers froze in their tracks, colour draining from their faces. I gripped my rifle tightly and peered into the dense foliage, but there was nothing. No movement, no beast. Only silence, broken by the occasional rustle or bird call. "It is Kaladev," one of the men murmured, his voice scarcely more than breath. "He is warning us." I scoffed at their superstition, at least outwardly. Yet within, a slow unease had begun to take root. The jungle did not feel like mere wilderness. It felt like a living thing, watchful, patient, and cruel. That night, as the campfire dwindled and the jungle chorus resumed its dreadful melody, I heard it, something moving beyond the perimeter of my tent. I seized my lantern and rifle and stepped outside. The darkness was suffocating, my light feeble against the void. The shadows twisted and shifted with every flicker of flame, And then I saw them. 2 eyes, aglow like embers in the night, fixed upon me from just beyond the reach of the lantern's glow. The tiger, immense, silent, as still as death. I raised my rifle and fired. The shot cracked through the jungle like a cannon. The beast roared, a sound so vast and terrible it seemed to shake the earth itself. But when the smoke cleared, the creature was gone, vanished into the night as if it had never been there. I stood trembling, the echo of its roar ringing still in my ears. The jungle returned to silence, but something had changed. I was no longer merely a hunter. I had been marked. The black devil had chosen me, and it would not cease until one of us lay dead. The morning after my encounter with Kala Dev dawned grey and heavy with mist. The air was still, almost unnaturally so, as if the very jungle itself held its breath. Not a bird stirred, not a single cry pierced the quietude. Even the insects, ever restless in these parts, had fallen silent. I had known fear before, on battlefields and in the wild places of the world, but this was something else. It was as though the earth itself whispered that I should turn back. Nevertheless, I'm not a man easily deterred. Pride, duty, and a deeper, more stubborn instinct drove me on. I gathered my rifle, ensured my revolver was loaded, and stepped out to find the trackers waiting in uneasy silence. They said little as we set out, but their eyes darted ceaselessly toward the trees, and their feet treaded lightly, as though afraid to wake something sleeping beneath the soil. We pressed deeper into the forest than we had dared before. The sun, though risen, scarcely penetrated the thick canopy. Shafts of pale light slanted through the leaves, like spears from some heavenly host, but they offered no warmth. Every tree seemed to lean inwards, cloaked in vines that resembled nooses. The very path resisted us, roots clawing at our boots, thorns tearing at our sleeves. Then we came upon it, a clearing, eerily quiet, where the remnants of a hunting party lay strewn like discarded toys. 5 men, torn apart with such ferocity it turned the stomach. The scene reeked of death and of something older, fouler. Flies buzzed in a grotesque symphony, while vultures' saw circled high above, unwilling, it seemed, to descend. One of the trackers collapsed to his knees, muttering prayers in his native tongue. Another turned to me, his voice low but urgent. "Sahib, it is not a beast. It is a demon. We should not be here." "Pull yourself together, man," I barked, more harshly than I intended. But truth be told, I felt it too. That sense of trespassing upon something sacred and profane. As we buried what we could of the remains, I noticed peculiar markings on the trees around the clearing. Deep gashes that bore no resemblance to claw marks. They were too deliberate, too precise, like the symbols of some ancient script long forgotten. One of the elders later called them Rakshasi Chinha, the devil's sign. We made camp that night upon a ridge, far from the clearing. No fire, no voices, only the darkness and the watchful eyes of the jungle. At midnight, I was roused by a sound unlike any I had heard before. Low and mournful, like a dirge sung by the earth itself. It seemed to come from every direction at once. The men sat wide-eyed, clutching their weapons in silence. Then came the unmistakable snap of a branch, followed by the rustle of something vast and heavy moving through the underbrush. I held my breath. My finger curled around the trigger of my rifle, but the darkness revealed nothing. Suddenly, a scream tore through the night. One of the trackers had vanished, snatched from his post without a sound of struggle. His rifle lay abandoned, still warm to the touch. We found his body some hours later, draped across the branches of a banyan tree like some ghastly offering to a forgotten god. I do not exaggerate when I say the men were near madness. 2 fled before dawn, vanishing into the jungle never to be seen again. The remaining few begged me to abandon the hunt, but I could not after what I had seen, not after the way it watched me, measured me, marked me. I knew then that this was no ordinary hunt. This was a reckoning, and so I set a trap. I ordered a young goat tethered at the edge of the clearing where the last attacks had occurred. I climbed into a mashana, a platform of bamboo and rope high in the trees, and waited, alone, rifle across my knees, heart pounding like a war drum. The hours crept by. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Then, just before dawn, it appeared, silent, enormous, its black stripes rippling like shadows on molten gold. Eyes like burning coals, fixed upon me as if it had known all along where I lay. It did not look at the goat, it looked at me. The tiger stepped forward, bold as a monarch surveying its kingdom. No sound, no haste, it was death made flesh. I fired, once, twice. The third shot struck home. I saw the beast shudder, but it did not fall. Instead, it turned its great head and let out a roar so powerful it rattled the very bones in my chest. And then it vanished once more into the green abyss. I climbed down, heart thundering, ears still ringing from the echo of its cry. There was blood, a trail. The black devil was wounded, but it yet lived, and I knew with cold certainty that the end was coming. For one of us. We followed the blood. It was still warm, dark as ink against the emerald floor of the jungle. A smear upon a leaf, a drop upon a stone. The great brute bled, yes, but there was nothing sluggish or clumsy in its retreat. It moved with purpose, precision, as though it were guiding us, leading us ever deeper into the jungle's foul heart. The air grew heavier with every step. Each breath was like drawing in steam from some hellish boiler. Even the insects had vanished now. The jungle had gone utterly still, like a theatre moments before the curtain lifts, and I, a reluctant actor in a play written by something ancient and cruel. We pressed on, though my companions dwindled to but two: Rafik, a young tracker with the eyes too old for his face, and Harun, the grizzled scout who walked with a limp and muttered prayers between clenched teeth. The others had deserted in the night, gone without a word. Cowards, some might say, but not I, not anymore. The blood trail took us to a place no map marked, a hollow in the jungle where the trees grew impossibly tall, their roots tangled like serpents. Vines hung low and thick, brushing our faces with damp fingers. The ground was soft and wet beneath our boots, the soil black and pulsing like a wound. Then we saw it, a shrine, or what once may have been a shrine, now a ruin swallowed by time and rot. Stone pillars choked with moss, carvings half erased by centuries of rain and silence. A figure loomed at its center, worn and broken, but unmistakable. A tiger, carved in basalt, mouth agape, fangs bared, not in rage, but in triumph. Harun dropped to his knees. "No man should be here," he rasped, his voice dry as leaves. "This is the place of Rakshasa, the jungle devils. We are not meant to see this." I said nothing. I could not. My voice was caught somewhere in my throat, along with a growing terror I could no longer pretend was mere superstition, because the blood trail ended there. No drag marks, no paw prints, nothing, as if the beast had bled its last drop and then vanished. Night fell quickly in that cursed place. We dared not move. Fire was forbidden, lest it draw the devil back. So we sat in the dark, clutching our weapons, listening to the jungle breathe. And then it began. A low moan, not unlike a dying man, drifting on the wind. Then another, closer. Not a tiger's call, not any beast I had heard in all my years. This was wrong, like something mimicking pain, mocking it. Harun stood and walked into the dark without a word. "Where are you going?" I hissed, but he did not turn, did not pause. His eyes were wide and vacant, his face slack as though sleepwalking. Rafik ran after him, but screamed only once. I never saw either of them again. I did not sleep. I sat with my back to the stone tiger, rifle in hand, pulse thudding in my ears. My mind swam with feverish thoughts of spirits, of ancient curses, of the bloodied teeth of some jungle god long forgotten by men, but still worshipped in flesh. At dawn, I found myself alone. No corpses, no footprints, just silence, and a single mark etched freshly into the stone altar beside me. 3 slashes, deliberate, precise, the black devil's mark. And so I returned to Bhimgarh, alone, haggard. The villagers saw me and turned away, as if I carried death on my skin. Even the headman, who once welcomed me with folded hands, would not meet my gaze. I told them it was wounded, that it would die, but they did not believe me, and neither did I. That night, as I sat alone in the headman's hut, staring into a dying fire, I heard it once more. The sound of padded feet upon dry earth, closer, deliberate. The bamboo door creaked, though no wind stirred. And then, those eyes, burning in the dark, fixed upon me. It had followed me, it had let me live, for now, the hunt was not over, not yet. 3 days passed, 3 days of waiting, watching, listening to the jungle whisper my name in rustling leaves and distant howls. I scarcely ate, slept even less. I had become a man possessed, haunted not merely by a tiger, but by something older, something elemental. I knew it would come, not out of hunger nor rage, but for something far deeper. It had stalked me through dreams, through silence, through the black depths of the forest, and now it wanted an end. On the morning of the 4th day, I made my preparations. No trackers, no companions, no bait. This would not be a hunt, it would be a duel. I took only my Lee Metford rifle, a revolver at my hip, and one final gift from the headman, an amulet of twisted bone and red thread, pressed into my hand without a word. His eyes were full of sorrow, and something that might have been respect. I returned to the shrine. The jungle seemed to part for me now, as if it knew what was to come. No resistance, no misdirection. The trees no longer clawed at my clothes. Even the air had stilled, thick with expectation. The shrine had changed. Fresh blood stained the stones. Yet no bodies could be found. Offerings, perhaps, or warnings. I climbed the same platform as before, now rotting and fragile but high enough to see the clearing below. I waited. Hours passed. The sun sagged low. Shadows stretched like fingers. The world narrowed to sound and breath and pulse. Every twitch of a leaf, every cry of a bird, every creak of bamboo set my nerves alight. Then, with the last breath of sunlight, it came. The black devil. It did not roar, did not prowl. It walked straight into the clearing, as though summoned. Its hide gleamed like polished bronze in the amber light, but the wounds I had inflicted still marred its flank, a testament to its mortality. But its eyes, God help me those eyes, there was no madness in them, no fury, only judgment. It saw me, it knew me, and for a fleeting moment I felt something unnatural pass between us, an understanding born of death. It lunged. I fired. The shot tore through the air, catching it square in the chest. It stumbled but did not fall. Another shot, then a third. It came on. I drew my revolver, emptied the chamber. Boom, boom, boom. Each shot landing, each one stealing a step from its charge. Blood poured from its wounds. Steam rose from its mouth. Its breathing came in ragged, furious gasps. And still, it came. It leapt. I raised the rifle one last time. No time to aim, no time to think. I fired into its gaping maw. Everything went white. I awoke beneath the broken frame of the Mashan, my body a ruin of bruises and blood. My right arm was mangled, my ribs shattered. The rifle lay twisted beside me, and beside it, the beast, dead. Its eyes wide, staring into nothing. Its great body still. I crawled to it, every breath agony, and placed my hand upon its head. It was warm, and then I wept. Not for the villagers, nor the pain, nor even for myself, but for it, for whatever strange god or curse or spirit had worn its flesh like a mask, for the part of me that now felt empty, hollowed out, as if the jungle had taken something I would never reclaim. I returned to Bhimgarh, a shadow of the man who had once arrived in a polished carriage. The people bowed as I passed, some touching my feet, others whispering prayers, but their eyes, those fearful, reverent eyes, told me everything. They did not believe I had slain a beast. They believed I had become one. I'm writing this from my estate in Surrey, though I rarely leave my study. The jungle still lives in my bones. I hear it in the wind, in the quiet, in the blood-red glow of the hearth. Sometimes, in the night, I see them, eyes, watching, waiting, and I wonder if, out there in some forgotten corner of the world, another Kaladev awakens, waiting for its own reckoning, waiting for another me.